With us now, Congressman Anthony Weiner, Democrat of New York, member of the Energy and Commerce Committee, and great thanks for your time and your patience with our logistics tonight, sir.
Thanks. Great to be here.
If this was a game changer, what should we expect from the game that we would not have expected at this time yesterday?
Well, we spent a lot of time over the month of August explaining to the American people why we needed to do anything. A lot of Americans said, you know, I've got health care, I think everything is fine. Why do we have to tamper with this? The president gave the kind of speech that only presidents can give, laying out why this is a chronic problem that needs to be addressed by all Americans. But I think he also did something else that makes things a little more complicated. He referred, as your previous guests have mentioned, to his plan. And I think that there still needs to be more meat put on the bones of that plan. But more and more Americans, after watching the president last night, are saying, okay, we have a problem that we need to solve. Let's get to do it. And that, frankly, has been a real weakness on the Republican side of the aisle. They're not even conceding there's anything that needs to be fixed. That's why they haven't offered many ideas of their own.
Where are you about the amount of meat on these bones, given your strong public support, consistent public support for the public option?
Well, the speech was kind of a Rorschach test for members of Congress. You know, I heard him say that he thought his argument in favor of a public option was pretty profound. He said we needed competition. He said we needed some choice, and we needed some way to drive down insurance prices. Only by having a public option do you do that. You know, I've compromised here. I believe in a single-payer plan, as you know. I think we should have Medicare for all Americans. It's simple and it works. But if we're not going to have that, we do need to have some government option that allow people, if they're being mistreated by their insurance company or the insurance company charged too much, to go to. If the president walks away from that, then I think he's going to walk away from enough votes to pass this bill. There are still some questions that need to be answered, but I think now we're on a path, at least the American people understand, that all the shouting of August notwithstanding, we do have to address this problem.
Congressional Republicans, as evidenced by Mr. Cantor and others who spoke today, have not budged on this in any respect. Few of them applauded at key moments. A few of them from the Senate did, to their great credit, I think. But in that respect, with their reaction, would you still consider the speech ultimately successful?
Well, I don't think we're going to win over many Republican members of the House or Senate. I think they're almost a lost cause. Republican members of the population as a whole, I think, are a much more fertile ground for us getting support for this. I think most Americans, and even the most ardent congressional district in the country, realize they're paying too much for health insurance. Too many of their neighbors don't have it, and realize that we're going to be bankrupt if we don't solve this problem. I think if we're waiting for Eric Cantor to come around and be helpful in this, we're going to be waiting for a very, very long time.
I was wondering last night, as I heard that speech, if the key thing that people who were not hugely involved politically would have taken away was the idea that it would now be illegal to deny insurance based on pre-existing conditions. This would seem, I would think, to the average person who may or may not know what party President Obama belongs to be something akin to manna from heaven.
Yeah, well, no, there's no doubt about that. And frankly, let's remember, for all the criticisms of government-run health plan, we never heard of the term pre-existing condition when it was just Medicare or Medicaid. That's exactly right. We do need to help reform insurance. You know, I hear these surveys say people like their insurance companies. Most people like their insurance companies until they actually have to get in touch with their insurance companies and get care from them. But, you know, the Republicans have to realize they're going to get left by the side of the road here. Some of the concerns Democrats have is, look, we're in charge of governing the House, the Senate, and now the White House. We've got to have initiatives that work. If we're going to be waiting for that cooling saucer of democracy, the United States Senate, to act, we're going to be waiting a very long time.
Speaking of things and acting and influences, ultimately, did it help last night, the progressives in any event, who would prefer to go purely Democratic on this bill and sort of drop the pretense that you're going to get a huge Republican crossover on this? Did it help to have a Republican making a fool of himself and of the process the way Congressman Wilson did last night? Well,
having a Republican member of Congress making a fool of themselves is not an uncommon occurrence in the House of Representatives. But in all seriousness, I think it is a distraction, but it shows something else. All of the shouting and yelling that went on during the month of August actually seemed to get into the Republican body politic, and that's problematic. We should stop the shouting, but we should start solving problems. Republicans aren't good at that either.
You're exactly right on your observation about it getting into the body politic. Representative Anthony Weiner of New York, again, great thanks.
Thank you.